Did you know there's an uptick of midget porn on?
And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect to answer the questions of things like why do people do their YouTube intros so fast that Edison Carter would be rolling in his grave? Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. And yes, there's a couple of you that know exactly what I'm talking about. You're my people. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me under that name, Shujin. Hi. I will go ahead and I will just start off before I even introduce everybody to say thank you for being with us. We're still here. And we're going to keep being here for you. So, introducing everybody. From the Midwest of the U.S., Bridget, good evening.
Evening.
It's a little chilly out your way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one word for it. I'm not sure what the actual temperature is, but the wind chill here is brutal. But at least we don't have any white stuff or ice.
No, that works out good. When the supervolcano finally blows its heat, though, you might have a little bit of a problem. Just keep that in mind.
This is true. I'm a little too close to comfort to Yellowstone.
Yeah,
just geographically speaking.
Yeah, I think Uzbekistan might be just a little bit too close for comfort at that point.
True.
Unrenewed Tech over on the right-hand coast of the U.S. Hi.
Howdy.
Yeah, Tech also reminded us earlier that he's kind of running a little lean on the sleep cycle, and yeah, somehow I'm not totally surprised.
Yeah.
And across the pond over to Paris, France, Joseph. Good to have you. Welcome back. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have bad news, Joseph. I made I made a new batch of coffee just about 3 hours ago. Here's the problem.
What?
There's none left in my cup.
Well, I've got a full thermos over here.
You know what?
If you're interested.
That's all well and good. But remember what they did to the post offices out here? I don't think that I'd be able to get it in a timely fashion.
Oh, well, you could start swimming.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, it's kind of a long swim.
I don't know. I mean, I got mine from Brazil in a timely fashion. By the way, if there's anybody watching this now or in the future who's from Brazil, thank you. That is involved in sending coffee to the U.S. Thank you. It was delicious.
Yeah, there is that. So, yeah. Hi, everybody. It's fair for us to go ahead and say that this has been a hell of a week. It is not anything that any of us... I was about to say none of us would have expected, but at the same time, we kind of were afraid this week was going to have happen. So, if
I was actually expecting it.
Yeah.
2020 is saying, hold my beer.
Yeah. So what are we up to? December 37th, 8th, 9th? I've kind of lost
Remember
track.
that joke I was making earlier about, ringing in the New Year's December 32nd?
Yeah.
2020? Yeah, I wasn't intending for that to be a fact.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's been. So for those of you that are kind of feeling like it's been what the hell, yeah, you're not alone on many fronts. We know. In any case.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing extra I can say is that when stuff like this happens, if you need a voice, the most likely the voice channel will be open over on our Discord. There are times when I get the opportunity of just sitting in there because things are nuts, and sometimes we need a voice. I was fortunate enough that I had a friend of mine north of the border needed a voice, and I helped out. So, don't be afraid to chime in over there and and at everyone and say, "Hi, I need a voice." Somebody will be here for you. Just keep that in mind. Any last time that you're trying to get in there, Tech, by the way?
Oh no, I was just gonna say that before we went live, um, Joseph and I were talking about dumpster fires of the 2020 and 2021, and it's like, yeah, apparently, and my comment was, apparently the dumpster fire that was 2020 was so large that it set 2021 on fire.
Too true. Too true.
Yeah, 2020 was the drapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Trump was the sparking electrical heater with the faulty wiring that somebody poured gasoline on.
Oh, the guy
And
falling asleep on the couch with a lit cigarette.
Yeah, exactly. And then, he left that open can of napalm in the other room.
As Joey would remind us, napalm, the gasoline you can chew.
That if he's chewing on napalm, that would explain everything.
No.
Well, most everything.
Anyway. So everybody, thanks for being with us. Of course, as usual, if you are with us live, feel free to type in over on the live chat. I know full well that Stephanie made it in early. Phyllis, hi. Yeah, we're here. We're kind of ready to go. And yeah, we're kind of looking over everything that's going on. So Stephanie, I will tell you now, and of course the rest of the UK contingent. Forgive me for not having really checked up as to what's going on with the whole thing with the Brexit. All I know right now is that we've got stuff that's been going on, and you'll kindly forgive me for not having enough bandwidth to handle all of what's been going on. I mean, when there were news articles that were saying that some countries in Africa were thinking about sending over peacekeeping forces to help us out, I was afraid to take a look in there and find out if it wasn't the Babylon Bee that was putting that one out there, because that would have been satire. We're living in the Anyway, so
don't get me started on the arrest, Stephanie. Hi.
Yeah, we'll see how that all works out.
I got words about that.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and get us rolling, and we'll get to the horrible scopes in about 5.5 minutes, because they're back. Isn't it nice? So, with 5 minutes on the clock for you at this point, your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. This time I've labeled it Fear. I have no problem with telling you guys. A lot of us have fear right now, and in my particular case, I will say it. I'm afraid. For the first time in my slightly more than 50 years, leave me alone, this is one of those times where I have legitimate fear. Now, there have been things that have happened in the past where, fear is the right way of thinking about it, because, we're experiencing something that's virtually unprecedented in the moment. We had the aircraft flying into the World Trade Center. We had the space shuttle, 2 space shuttles. And then, you find out about stuff that you never knew was happening. I mean, we knew about, how not happy things were with Khrushchev and the UN and the beating of your shoe on the gaveling it on the podium. We knew things weren't good then. But we didn't find out for years that a nuclear exchange almost happened and was prevented because one Soviet radar tech looked at his screen and said, there is no way the Americans are going to send over one missile. This is a glitch. And now there's one more. It's a glitch. When all of his training had said, you see something coming, you launch. In some respect, we shouldn't be here. All but for one guy who basically said, nah, man, this is... No, they wouldn't do that. That's stupid. So now we have a crisis unlike anything anyone in my country has seen. Period. Our capital was overrun with a mob, a riot, a group of inflamed traitors to the flag. And I know. A flag is just a symbol. Symbols are for shit. They were trying to make their way in order to capture and theoretically arrest, you'll hear the air quotes in my voice, and then hold an execution. They were going there intentionally with material to be able to find, capture, and summarily execute the vice president. Pelosi, Schumer. They had information on how to get to and where the tunnels were. They had information on where people were going to be possibly driving through in order to stop them. What we've experienced is something that is difficult to process. I don't know what to do with all of this. I'm far enough removed physically, geographically, that there's nothing that I can do. And even if I was close enough, what would I be able to do? What do I have that would be of any consequence? I've got an old piece of metal that I got. It's a sword that I got at a Renfest. I couldn't even tell you how many 35 years ago. I've got my grandfather's shotgun that is decrepit and couldn't be used for anything. I'm afraid. There's nothing wrong with that. Because we don't know what to do now. That's the problem. Nobody is telling us where we're going yet. Going into the future without any help is arguably one of the greatest fears of all. This is episode 344 in the docket, runner, and I will warn you, my Latin is atrocious. Qui tacet consentire Videtur.
It's all Greek to me.
It's close enough. I heard this expression courtesy of one of the late night shows. I forget which one off the top of my head. They mentioned it. And the overall meaning of it is, if you stay silent, you are agreeing tacitly. If you do not object, you are accepting.
Silence yields consent.
Yeah. And Joseph, for what it's worth, in the show notes, I did put the French version in there. I don't know if you wanted to pronounce it in between sips of coffee.
Coffee. Coffee?
Cafe.
We'll go with that. And he's not right there right now, so it doesn't really much matter. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I am here, but I was trying to find the show notes.
Oh. Well, the line here, let me copy and paste that for you so that you can give that a try.
Procédure d'approbation tacite.
Bless you.
That's a
What?
hell of a lot better than I would be able to. That's for damn sure.
Yes.
Approbation tacite. Procédure d'approbation tacite. Is that like a Google translation or something?
I do not know. I copied it from the Wikipedia article, so I can only assume that it was.
Give me a link to that.
I
I can see the context.
can't right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Because it, yeah.
Sorry. I can have to.
It literally means procedure of silent approval.
Yeah. Yeah, that's effectively what. That's effectively the way that it was described.
Okay, it looks like it was taken from a sentence.
It's entirely possible. So, we're not going to end up talking directly about the news from this week because Lord knows there's plenty enough about that. But the problem that we've run into is that after all the yelling and screaming and posturing that's been going on up to this point, there is now an incredible dearth of complaining, of talking about what's going on. And where those voices once were, now that it's silent, that's troubling, to put it mildly. I think that it's probably a good idea that we end up talking a little bit about that because, well, reasons. We'll get around to that. I did go up looking. There's no new information on Rafe Badawi's condition. He is still in jail from all of the information I was able to find. So, as of the recording of tonight's show, it has now been 8 years, 6 months, 24 days since Rafe was unjustly incarcerated for thought crimes. Our hopes and thoughts are still with you and your family. We are still waiting. Still hoping. With the way that... before we get to the horrible scopes, Bridget, I mean, with the way that things have been going, with people being crammed in for jails and whatnot, with all of the virus stuff going around, I can't believe that that's safe, to put it mildly.
Safe in what context? As far as like what happened Wednesday, or in overall, or
Well, overall, I mean, people like people incarcerated, people like Rafe who are in, and
oh yeah,
okay. It's arguable that he might be one of the safest people because he tends to be in isolation a lot of times,
and away from people. Yeah,
which is a double-edged sword.
yeah. But I mean, as far as what's going on in the U.S. prison populations and things, it's running rampant there and infecting the guards and the inmates, and people are dying from it. So, I mean, it's a legitimate concern, and probably being in isolation away from everyone and everything is probably the safest place to be, which is pretty sad. You pay the mental price for being in isolation and all of that, but as far as dying from a disease, it's probably a lot safer.
True that. All right.
Yeah, it just sucks regardless.
So, not that we're expecting that Rafe is liable to see this anytime, but we're still watching and hoping for whatever it's worth. So, now that that's all out of the equation, how about we go ahead and get to the horrible scopes and then get to, less uplifting stuff at that point. Because that's just the way it's going to be.
But what order are we going in this week?
Well, you know what? Assuming that Joseph, you've got open?
Yeah.
Because I'm only seeing 2 people looking at them right now.
I've got it open.
I've got it open.
I've got it open.
I'm invisible.
I see 3 people.
I
No,
see
now
3 now.
It looks like a bunny showed up.
Wait, hold on. Tell me if it changes to 2 in 3, 2, 1.
Nope.
Did it change?
Not yet.
Nope.
Well,
It'll
Okay,
probably
I
take
was
a couple
thinking maybe
seconds.
if I changed tabs, maybe that did something to do with it. But...
No, it's all good. Anyway, so
Weak. Cool.
Hmm.
I'm purple. Favorite color.
all right then. So it is time for your horrible scopes for this week. Yes, they're back.
I wasn't laughing in a negative way. Just so.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if I'm going after Shujin or if I'm going after. It's just easier for me.
I mean, order of introduction was Shujin, you, me, and Joseph.
Yes,
Okay, well,
because
roll.
it goes across the map.
Hello, words. I'll
Yeah.
roll with that.
That works great. Thank you so much. All I ask is for one rehearsal. I'm sorry. It's an old joke. It's an old
There's
joke.
no, damn it.
I'm just so used to being Gemini that I'm just like, what do I do now?
I don't know. Now you're just going to have to read. Oh, right. That's the way it's going to be. So, for those of you that know what your astrological signs are, cool, great. Those of you that don't, make it up as you go along. Roll a d12. I don't really much care. Just think of it this way. If you don't like it, you can bribe me next time and we'll figure out what in the hell it is. So, starting off with Aries, that smell is you. Stop eating Flintstone chewable vitamins like they're Pez. All that new body odor, that's Dino dropping a deuce on your liver. Cut it out.
Taurus, people will believe you're into bondage because you know about Wonder Woman's creation history. Now you have to choose what your public face is going to be. A comic book nerd, a bondage freak, someone who's into strong women who can't get a date with Batman.
Gemini, raising sheep can be dangerous. When they're out grazing, they're easy prey for many predators. So here's a tip for you. Add an alpaca to the flock. Just one. They'll bond with and protect the herd. They will proverbially curb stomp the hell out of a wolf that gets too close, and they eat what the sheep eat. Perfect!
Cancer Moonchild. Have some spiked eggnog and relax. Yes, it's January, but the expiration on nog can be extended with the addition of alcohol. The more rum, the longer it'll keep. Might even make it to the spring equinox. If you can't wait that long, maybe team up with Leo on this one.
Yeah, speaking of which, Leo, accidents often lead to new and exciting discoveries. Just remember that you're not a professional chemist. Mixing different liquids together is not always a good idea. So how about you start with nitric acid, salt, and the previously mentioned eggnog, and see if you can make nog mozzarella.
Oh.
Go. Your aura is dim, in both senses of the word, but so dim that no one can see it, and too stupid to exist. But to be fair,
To be fair,
To be fair,
if you're alive, you're radiating body heat, and therefore you technically do have an aura of infrared light.
Libra, we think we found a good job for you this week, Libra. Anti-allergenic meals. If you can chocolate coat peanuts so that they can't affect folks who are allergic to them, why not chocolate coat other allergenic foods like eggs and shellfish? Okay, never mind. Even we think this is a horrible plan.
Scorpio. There's a simple way to deal with not being able to get to the hairstylist these days. Shave your head. Just shave it all right off. Make a full-on fashion statement that says, "This is me and I'm proud of who I am." Maybe even write that in the henna on the back. Just mind your P's and Q's.
or B's and D's. Sagittarius, You thought getting a magic 8-ball for Christmas was a stupid gift, but don't take that out on the ball. You're hurting its feelings. Stop shaking it so hard it comes up saying, "Put me down." It's trying its hardest for you, man.
Corn. We know times are a little tough. So to help you, we found a coupon for you to use. 50 tokens, 1 large pizza, only 1 topping, and 4 drinks for $30. Not valid in Hawaii. It's for Chuck E. Cheese, and it expired 5 years ago. Okay, so never mind. Sorry. You'll have to be stuck with $3 gas station Hawaiian pizza this week.
This is the age of Aquarius. There is a truism in the entertainment field. Never work with children or live animals. It's because they are the most honest creatures in the world. So take great comfort in the fact that animals and small children cherish you.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Pisces. You need to stop dropping acid. You started work on a new EDM mix after taking a tab, and when you woke up the next day, you'd shifted the whole thing into an Excel spreadsheet. You don't know how you did it, and no one else can figure out how you could have done it. But damn if it wasn't catchy, especially with that Steve Ballmer developers chant thrown in.
There's a couple people who know exactly what I'm referencing there.
Developers. Woo!
Just that sweat.
And then they turned it into a music video. It was great.
Yes, they did. As a matter of fact, I ended up using that on air for my short-lived FM radio career. Yes, I had a show.
Fun fact about Steve Ballmer is that he had the ability to remember people's names like no other person I've ever heard of. When he went to college, his first year, he memorized every single name and phone number in the student, basically the phone book that they had. They called it something different, but the entire book for every single phone on campus and in every dorm and everything like that, he memorized it all in the first year. He could point at a person and he knew who they were.
Wow.
Yep, and then he knew something interesting about that person too, so he could actually build, social networking with those people in a way that most people would require bionics to do it with. Somebody like me, for example.
Well, he's a better salesman than he is, so.
Especially for the developers.
Yeah, that these days we call somebody like that a stalker. So those are your horrible scopes for this week. If you enjoyed them, wonderful. If you didn't, bribe me next week and I'll try to be nicer about it. Don't hold your breath.
That's what happened with Aquarius.
Yeah, I gotta.
Somebody bribed you.
Sort of.
I thought he was good this week. I liked him.
Yeah. It's possible somebody has trained the X-25 stealth bassilope into my backyard. So I don't. I mean, it's everything's fine. Everything's fine. Some people don't really need to know about top secret items like that, like the X-29 stealth bassilope. You know what? I think it's probably a better idea just to leave that aside for now. Hi. We're back. Yeah, I mean, this is as much levity as I'm going to be able to pull off tonight, so I figure I might as well just, get as much as I can in, because Lord knows there's not much to be had at this point. I'm sorry.
Yeah, once we get on topic, I'm going to be so pissed off.
Yeah, let's just do that now then.
But by the way, what is the topic?
Well,
The show notes. Come on, man.
Oh, son of a monkey's uncle. You said it in French.
And if you're like taking bribes and stuff, Shujin, can I have an alpaca for my backyard, please?
I only want an alpaca if it knows how to use a semi-automatic rifle.
trust
I
me.
just want one because they're so cute.
an alpaca that is protecting its herd, when I wrote there that it would curb stomp the hell out
But,
of,
but
that's more true than you realize. I'm just
I
going to wear
know
my
but
hat right now.
having
I'm going to
just
wear.
having a single one in the backyard just to look at because they're so
No,
cute.
I get you. I get you. Joseph, this is all for you at this point. Right now, I'm going to be wearing my hat like the host of the Gong Show because of the way that this hurt.
Okay. Well, normally I just parachute in every week and
I know.
not
I know.
wear.
It's fine. No, you're not. You're having fun at my expense. And half the time, I expect that.
No, I'm just having fun.
Glad one of us is. I don't even know where the damn camera is at this point. I'm just going by what I can figure that where my see, it would be great, except that, if I was going to go off of where my chair was pointed, that would be fine, except that my chair is on a swivel, so I don't know exactly if I'm right, and you know what, I don't care anymore.
To be oriented right now, you're not.
Well,
You were.
no, I'm
There you go.
That would be super funny if you cut a couple holes in the brim.
no.
He
Anyway,
is not desecrating or mutilating the hat in any way.
not this one at the very least.
Not
Anyway,
that one. Nope.
so excuse me. So the short version of all the stuff that's going on about the whole, silence is complicity. I know. I'm paraphrasing the line a little bit, but still got the point across. The idea that what we had was an incitement to riot, followed by, well, a riot. I mean, in pretty much any jurisdiction, you can have anybody yell and scream all they want, but as soon as you get one person to get another person to break the law in some way, by technicality, that's a riot, and they can be arrested for inciting a riot. Now, when you go to one person, two, three, a half dozen maybe, inciting several thousand people to riot, well, it's kind of clear cut. But the biggest problem of what's happened is that all these people who have been yelling and screaming that this is wrong, the election is wrong, it's rigged, it needs to be redone a different way. All of a sudden, this riot happens, and those voices, a lot of those voices, suddenly are incredibly quiet about the riot itself, when they were in imminent danger. And some of them had to be crawling under their desks like they were grade school kids at an active shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, for those of you that didn't see it on various Twitters and TikToks, yeah, these kids have basically gone ahead and dragged the hell out of them and said, yeah, it's not so much fun when you do it, is it?
Mm-hmm.
And rightly so. So, now that these people have basically tacitly agreed, and are complicit in the whole, well, we're not going to say anything bad about it, so why should we even keep people like that around?
You said it right. Why would anybody say anything bad about it?
Funny you should say that, because that was kind of in the back of my head.
You have sheep in the back of your head?
It's an alpaca.
Do you have a question that I've been pondering from
Yes.
all of this? Remember the executive order that he who I refuse to name now, but we know who we're talking about, signed saying that any kind of damage to federal monuments and things like that was, punishable by 10 years.
Highly
Uh,
punishable, yes.
would that apply to damage of federal property?
You're asking the wrong question. The correct question would be, why shouldn't it apply?
Well, why shouldn't it? I mean, would that not be people hoisted on their own petard?
Hmm.
Watch them just pardon them anyway.
But my question on that is, now, our friends at Opening Arguments did, make the argument that these people could be, pardoned for violating, these crimes. But how would you go about issuing a blanket pardon in this manner? Because they're still trying to identify people. I mean, is it possible to? I'm going to offer a blanket pardon to Jane and John Doe, who may or may not have been on the premises on this date.
Yes.
How would you make that work?
Yes, you could.
You could?
Yes. And the way that it was done once before was to pardon those that had jumped the border from the U.S. to Canada to escape the Vietnam draft.
Yeah, you just stop looking for... Stop the investigation, basically.
Yeah, you basically issue a blanket pardon that says anyone that did XYZ is excused on behalf of the head of the executive branch of the government. Sign this date, this time. Here's my Sharpie. There you go.
Learn something. Thank you.
Now, the problem, of course, that goes along with this is it's one thing to commute the sentence of someone who has been incarcerated for reasons that at this point seem, let's say, quaint. I mean, you've got people who are incarcerated for selling marijuana in some places where marijuana has now been legalized, and yeah, you can just commute those sentences. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
But commuting an actual seditious, treasonous act, that is something I would very much not want to have happen, because I don't want to try to find out how Congress would take it to the Supreme Court to have it overturned. That concept scares the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine who would be putting up such a suit and bringing it to the Supreme Court. It would have to be, in my mind, it would have to be someone who is the lead of both houses on the Capitol, which means it would fall onto the head of the vice president. And what in the hell is the vice president going to do as the head of Congress?
Current or incoming?
Depends on when they get around to filing everything.
To a certain degree, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But still, putting the precedent of procedure into place, and please forgive me, the alliteration was not intended.
Right.
There is, to the best of my knowledge, there is no mechanism for that. It is written out that pardons are the purview of the executive branch. Done. And there's nothing to be done about it.
But if they were done to aid and abet, in insurrection or sedition, I would think that could be rendered invalid. And I think if Merrick Garland were to be confirmed...
Oh, God, I can't wait for that.
I think he should be. I don't think he would let that one slide.
Nope. And over in the chat, by the way, sorry I didn't get to you guys just yet. Stephanie has put something that's really, really funny to me. Even though even though the idea is to talk about the groups, the individuals who are being silent about this whole damn thing, has also put the ones who are talking are claiming it was Antifa.
Oh, isn't that a cute little snowflake?
Well, here's really quickly.
Here's the fun. I was going to say, here's the fun part, is that they have pictures of the people who were there.
Mhm.
And when they go back and they look at the social media of the people, they're Trump supporters. They're not Antifa. They're Trumpists.
Yep. Now, here's the one fun part about this for me. The machine has begun to eat itself. Because now that the accusation has been made, people are now paranoid back and forth to each other going, I know that I'm on the right side. Are you Antifa? Are you actually one of the people? You're one of them, aren't you? And their paranoia is now spiraling into each other. And you know what? It's gonna be the Hatfields and McCoys, only it's going to be 14 gajillion of them on every side. You thought a diamond had facets. Oh my God, this is just going to be everybody at each other's throats, one way or another.
What gets even more interesting too, or kind of humorous, or I don't know what word you want to use. I mean, I don't have
Schadenfreude.
words.
It's Schadenfreude.
Well, some of the people that participated in this are offended that they're like, wait a minute, you're saying this is Antifa, don't give them credit for what we did. You know? And then to make things even more darkly humorous is Marjorie Green, what's her name, that was newly elected, that's on Parler and stuff. She was the QAnon person that was elected recently as a representative of Georgia. She basically asked people to dox themselves on Parler, and people responded
in droves. I heard about that.
Yes, she's like, in case we lose our means of communication, I need your names and phone numbers so we can keep in touch. And here are people on Parler putting their names, addresses, and phone numbers out there in public. How absurd is that?
Massively.
These people have no critical thinking skills at all.
Nope. These are the people for whom the Clue by 4 was invented for.
Exactly.
It's a cult.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for years.
Oh, and no argument.
I have been saying it for years because the leader can't be wrong. The leader's always right. And if the leader's wrong, no, the leader's right, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. Even if the leader says the sky is purple, and you look up and you see a blue sky, and you go, well, the sky looks blue to me. You're wrong because the leader said it was purple. Your perception is wrong. Therefore, you must convince yourself that your perception is fallacious, and you must come to recognize that the leader is the only one who can be right.
Yeah.
If you disagree, you're persecuting your leader. Okay, and you are harmful, and and anybody else who does it is being harmful, and you must go after that person with all sorts of aggression and anger and the quote unquote truth that the leader knows that this person over here doesn't obviously know.
Okay,
and that's what we saw on those steps.
Well,
we saw a cult storm the Capitol building.
No, you're right. You're right, but hold on to that a second. Joseph, I want to get you because right now we're in a position that you're going to love. You just heard this, and this is exactly the kind of thing that you've talked about over and over and over again, where people just do not think for themselves. So this is right up your alley. Here's my question for you. Did you see what the reaction was from the cultists when Trump issued a not apology, like he was some kind of a person that was kidnapped and was reading a statement to his kidnappers to be transmitted later with dead eyes and everything. Did you hear what happened with all these people when he did that and threw them under the bus?
I only heard what he said. I never got to seeing the reaction.
Well, let me put it this way. The way that Tech just described it as the leader can never be wrong, because if the leader is wrong, you're wrong. Now, all of these people, all these cult members have now said the leader is wrong, which means the leader is wrong. But you're wrong. How can you be wrong? You dumped us under the bus. Why did you do that? You've sold us out. You are obviously not the leader that we thought you were. The monster is now coming for Dr. Frankenstein.
Ah, the bond has been broken.
To a certain degree.
Yeah. Told
I-
some
it-
others who were reading into it that actually that was, he was, saying the next day that this is not over and we're still going to fight, which is why Twitter yanked his account.
Finally.
Yeah, I mean,
3.5 years late.
Yeah, but that was the straw that put the camel's back. And then seeing all these people rationalize what he said was actually he said this and not this, so this is code that he's still going to, remain in power. And this was not really a concession. And they were reading so much into that, which is, one of the
But he
reasons
was-
why the Twitter forums did say that this is being interpreted as X, Y, and Z by these different factions, and so we had no choice.
Well, he was doing double speak. I mean, he was trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
say two things at the same
No,
time.
no,
so
no,
of course that-
no. Hold it. He was not. He was reading a prepared
Script.
statement that was intended to try to mitigate his legal repercussions. If you watch the way that he reads it, it is, and you did, if you were to compare that to someone who is reading a ransom request who has been kidnapped, like
okay.
like a military person who is reading a statement after they've had the shit beat out of them, and they're just, I will now read the statement that you've given me because you want me to read this statement. That's exactly where he is.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, Seeker, bless your little black heart. Seeker apparently had been, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit on this one. Apparently, Seeker had been in communication with some people who were just like, it's all Antifa, it's all Black Lives Matter, that's who's been doing all this stuff. And Seeker's like, well, show me the pictures that show that you're right. And then he got the pictures and then did a reverse image search. And it's just like, nope, here you go. Here's another MAGA thing. This is where it comes from. Oh, look at this. This one's also another MAGA thing. And look at this. This one's also another. You're really not really good at this, are you? I might have added
And
that
Seeker
part.
even points out that they're wearing the QAnon patches.
Yeah.
And when it makes it really easy to search when you have that kind of. Here's the thing, people. If you don't want to be easily found on social media, don't use social media.
There you go.
When you put your face on it, and you put your name, and your address, and your phone number, and what you do for a living, and what you had for breakfast, and what you had for lunch, and what you had for dinner, and then, you took video of yourself going and breaking into a freaking federal building, do not be surprised when somebody shows up on your doorstep. Well, if you're white, don't be, because you'll have time to get to your doorstep. If you're black, you'll probably be shot on sight. That crap aside, when somebody shows up on your doorstep going, yeah, we got a shiny new pair of silver bracelets for you, you're coming with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. More amusing is when a woman comes running out of the house claiming to be your grandma going, leave my boy alone.
I
Which
saw that
actually
too.
happened.
I saw that too.
West Virginia. That was
Yeah.
interesting.
Mountain
The
Mama.
other one on Twitter that was kind of amusing was I forget who the user was, but he had a picture up there, of his son, in the Capitol, and he's like, "That's my boy. I'm so proud of him. Yes, that's my son." And then he's like, "Why is the FBI contacting me?" And then the next screenshot is Twitter account deleted.
See, here's the thing that I went through my head. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're spot on. I mean, it's funny as hell.
Oh God.
I didn't snort. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's funny as hell. The thing that got me was when I was reading up on that West Virginia law person, public office person. When the grandmother came out and told the police to leave her boy alone, all I could think to myself was, ma'am, if you're his grandmother at his age, you've lived long enough to see World War II. Even probably as a kid, but you saw it. Okay? Now, what didn't you learn from World War II that you are protecting him? Because you missed out on something somewhere.
Yeah, what did I write in on Facebook at the end of one thing? That your history teachers should be allowed to slap you incessantly until you get the answer right this time. God damn. Now, kind of pulling this whole damn thing back. Pulling this whole damn thing back a second. The idea of not speaking up is complicity. Is that the right word? You know what? Close enough. I don't care. Whatever. I want to make sure that people understand one thing about this. There are times where we don't know what's going on, ergo we don't have something to say about it. There are times where we're just out of the loop because at this point, with everything that's been going on over the last half decade, basically, we're kind of burnt out. And we really don't have any bandwidth to handle it. We get that. We're not talking about you. If you're in that situation, it's okay. I've said it before for myself. I do, what is it? I do four DJ sets a week at a Second Life. So it's 4, 8, 9 hours a week of, radio stream time. And then 2 basically turns into almost 3 hours, here with this whole damn thing. I want to be able to turn off my news inputs, but I really feel like I can't entirely because I've got a responsibility, I feel. So, if you're not in the same kind of position where you need to, there's nothing wrong with, spinning down a little bit. So don't worry about that. So let's hit one specific group that at this point, forgive the pun, should be up in arms, and yet I've not trolled all of the news feeds, but nothing in my news feed so far have brought out the National Rifle Association here in the United States. Well known for being the highest, or at the very least the most visible, Second Amendment, i.e. everybody deserves to have a gun, group.
You do realize that there is 2 major lawsuits against the NRA that they're busy fighting, right?
Oh, I am full well aware that they've got their own hornet's nest that they're dealing with, but I haven't even heard of a press release coming from them. Meanwhile, we've gotten press releases denouncing this week from fucking Chuck E. Cheese. Mm-hmm. For one, Ben and Jerry's.
Wait, what did that poor mouse do?
Ben and Jerry's has gone ahead and said, we denounce all the shit that's been going on. There have been a number of groups. Plus, let's not forget that a lot of aircraft stewards have basically said, we don't want to have these people coming from Washington, D.C. on our planes because they're kind of a risk.
Yeah.
And I had already gone ahead and put out a tweet and basically said they should just have a sicken. Done.
Yep. One airline has actually requested that they, for the flights that will be out there, to have them all, what do they call it? Dry. No alcohol whatsoever, so nobody has a chance to get drunk. And that way, if they're misbehaving, well, it's just because they're an asshole and they need to be arrested and thrown in jail, and they can't blame it on the alcohol. And I thought to myself, that's actually not a bad idea. In the middle of a pandemic, the last thing we should do is have drunk customers on flights. I can understand, they make a policy, once the pandemic's over. Not necessarily over. Once we get to a point where flying on a plane doesn't instill fear in people of catching COVID, because we have certain things in place, we're a certain level with vaccines and we're at a comfortable spot where COVID is no longer a massive threat to human society. Okay. Once it becomes something on a level of actual flu level or common cold or whatever, then I could see them reintroducing the alcohol at that point. But at this point where one person taking their mask off could potentially, blow up, not the plane, but, create an outbreak in a tiny little pressurized cabin. Yeah, I think removing the alcohol from that would probably be a very good idea. And I'm a person who enjoys his alcohol, okay? I enjoy the strong stuff. I enjoy the tasty stuff, but I don't drink to get drunk. One, that's expensive when you have a high tolerance.
That's true.
And two, I've seen my buddies get drunk. I've seen how they behave. Some of them are happy. Some are not so happy. Some they were drinking out of the stupid bucket, when they get drunk. But all in all, I've seen the things that people do when they're drunk. I've seen it in pool halls. I've seen it in dance clubs. I've seen it in lots of different places. And 9 times out of 10, a fight could have been avoided if the person who was picking the fight wasn't drunk, because they would have never done it if they hadn't been drunk. 9 times out of 10, somebody falling down and getting hurt could have been avoided in those situations if they had known their limit and cut themselves off.
Yeah, you know what? Hold on a second right there for me. Because there's another piece about this that I just came into my head.
Go for it.
If you end up with somebody on a flight, meaning the flight is in the air, and they become unruly, let's go with that. Perhaps even combative.
As they get out of their seat and pushing people around, kind of things.
They need to be restrained. Let's go with that. They need to be restrained.
Okay. So the flight marshal's probably getting involved at that point.
I just suddenly thought to myself, at this point, we've got people going into grocery stores, although I haven't heard of it recently, fortunately, who've decided that coughing on people is a perfect way of intimidation.
Yes. Or spitting on their products.
If these people who have been in what could very easily have been a super spreader event, and I think it would be completely ignorant to say that it wasn't.
Yeah.
These people could conceivably, very conceivably, just decide after they've got their whistle wet that they're just going to go ahead and spit everywhere. Every opportunity they can. Duct tape them across the mouth? Fine, I'll just blow my nose right down my face, and what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Which then means that you've got, 200 people on a reasonably sized flight that now have to be worried about?
Yeah.
Well, here's the part that gets me. And this came from somebody inquiring, how come Black Lives Matter can get away with it, but these people can't? And that goes down a different path. But what it does touch on is the topic of law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that surprised me, because when this started, I lost sleep over this. I lost a lot of sleep over this. I didn't go to bed.
Yeah, I know.
I stayed up. I watched everything. I was on my cell phone with one news channel, my TV with another news channel. I had 2 other news channels open on my computer. I was watching 4 different news channels.
Yeah,
And when I realized Fox was downplaying everything, that became one less news channel that I was tuned into.
yeah,
But what bothered me is when they were doing the tear gas and all this fun stuff in there to drive the people out and everything. Why did the police and the people who showed up to assist not surround the building, get them out, force them down on the ground, and arrest them one by one by one by one by one?
They were outnumbered.
No. I'm talking about when reinforcements came in. Because when the people made it into the building, it would have been easier for them to keep the people boxed in until enough reinforcement they could do it to take them out one by one. Because they were able to get them out of the building with the tear gas and everything else in an orderly fashion, despite the tear gas. Some of those people who broke into the Capitol building and who stormed it obviously had some sort of training, whether it was private or otherwise. Because your average person doesn't react to tear gas in a calm manner the way some of those people did. And believe it or not, in America, if you want a military experience where you want to try, okay, I want to see what it's, let's say that I never qualified for military service, okay? And let's say that I wanted to feel what it was like for 2 weeks of boot camp. There are people out there who are former military who set up programs like this that I can pay the money to. And I sign a waiver, of course, and then they put me through 2 weeks of the same hell that they went through. And in some cases, you can sign up for things, depending on your health, for things like dealing with tear gas and such. I'm willing to bet that the way some of these people reacted to the tear gas, the people who were breaking in, the insurrectionists, they had some experience with some of this stuff, one way or another. There was a lot of pre-planning going on here. And it could have been easy to arrest every single person coming out of that building. It could have been. But it didn't happen. Instead, some of these people got to go home.
Most of them did.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, they went basically, not seriously, but basically across the street to the hotel rooms.
Oh, or the bar.
Well,
everything was closed at 6 in DC. They ordered a curfew.
People went, to hotels and things and had, drinks at the bar and
live streamed themselves.
So I know that some things were open tech.
Okay, I didn't see that part. I apologize.
Well, they were indoors.
Yeah, they were indoors.
That's the majority of it. I didn't even think about it. I just went ahead and I just looked it up on Amazon. Flex cuffs, 10-piece heavy-duty zip tie handcuffs, 250-pound tensile strength.
Yep.
A 10-pack for $13.
Yep. You can also buy, believe it or not, depending on how bad your paranoia is, you can buy a skeleton key for police cuffs.
Which is not terribly difficult to do. I mean,
no.
I mean, some of us.
As to why some of these people were not arrested, and it's looking like this is more and more and more the case, just because of how things went down, is because there was tacit cooperation from some of the police, and there were some, law enforcement people and active duty military people in civies with IDs that did help them to get in, direct them where they needed to go, things like that.
Well, the news was saying that Nancy Pelosi's office does not have a label on her door, and it's located in the building in such a way as that unless you know where it is, you won't find it.
Well, right, and same thing with the ballots, the ballot boxes that were supposed to be kept in the I'm not sure if it was archivist room or exactly what they call it, but there is a specific location that those are supposed to be stored, and that room was ransacked. Somebody was after those ballots to burn them, and the only reason that didn't happen is because the people that were conducting the proceedings at the time put them in lock boxes and escaped with them. And I think they were Elizabeth Warren's aides or something, but that's the only reason they did not get those ballots that were
Well,
being
on the
counted.
positive, one of the news people found out. On the positive, had the people who stormed the Capitol building, the Trumpists, if that cult had gotten their hands on those boxes that we saw on the desks, or the desk, and they burned it, they would have thought they'd won. And then later on, what would have came out was, by the way, we had backups.
Oh, they do. They've got several backups that are,
Yeah.
that are archived and all this other stuff. But the point is, they were after those and they knew exactly where to go.
Yeah, there's a piece that I had wanted to look for, and I found it, although I found a new version that is troubling. Bridget, from military.com, Larry Rendell Brock Jr., who wore a Kevlar helmet and military patches on his flak jacket during Wednesday's U.S. Capitol siege by pro-Trump demonstrators, retired from the Air Force Reserves in 2014 as a lieutenant colonel, Air Force spokeswoman told military.com. Here's the quote I want from you. As a private citizen, we no longer have jurisdiction over him.
Well, as far as the military?
That
is not true.
Yeah.
SCOTUS made a ruling back in June, and I don't remember the exact case. I would have to Google it and all this other stuff. But SCOTUS did uphold back in June that people who are retired military and drawing retirement are they've merely had a change in status. They can be recalled and penalized under the UCMJ. And I will have to go find that ruling, but SCOTUS did uphold that, yes, they are still subject to it. Now, there may be some argument whether that's actually valid or not, but I mean, that is what SCOTUS ruled.
Yeah, and I'm just going looking for it.
I think it was June of last year.
Okay, the one that I found was regarding a specific case, so I'm not gonna go pulling through that, but I'll go looking up in a little bit. Secret also. I'm sorry.
I could be wrong, but my understanding is that yes, they still can be punished under it, and they're still subject to it.
Yeah. Secret also mentioned the backup that was supposed to be going in to help the capital city police and such was called to stand down. Capitol Police retreated inside the Capitol. DOD held up. Let me. I have a friend of mine who has family in the military. They went into the, I forget exactly which branch. I think it was Army. Pretty sure it was Army. Because they were a French horn player. Yeah, there are actually musicians who are in the military because they're musicians.
Yep.
The same way that there are people who are in the military because they are good with expense reports.
Yep.
Now,
Gotta have logistics.
Said person was over the state border, and their group did not get the call order to be ready to go until almost 5 p.m. They didn't get the call-in order until almost 5 p.m. I'm not talking about, all right, we're rolling the trucks. I'm talking, You need to get into your getup and get your equipment and get ready now. And from what we've understood, this was a calculated measure months and months ago.
Yeah.
Well, they've been preparing it for weeks.
Yeah.
It seems now, but we heard nothing. Like, there's one thing about Trump rallies is that I hear that they're happening, but we don't see really much coverage on the news. But I really wonder, like, how often does he do rallies? And I mean, how long has this been going on?
Well, since before his election that brought him to power, and I'm very carefully saying it that way because he should sound like a Disney villain at this point.
It's because it's funny. It's one of the few presidents, well, almost no presidents have held rallies
No.
after their election.
It depends. In the U.S., there are many presidents who have held support rallies.
Well, for certain
Right, for certain other politicians who are
causes.
running and so on. And when they go to these things, they don't talk about themselves. They talk about the person they're there to support. The difference is, if you go on YouTube and you look up any of Trump's rallies where he's supposed to be supporting somebody, especially most significantly after the loss of the 2020 election, he will make it all about him.
It's all about himself.
Even if he starts talking about somebody else, it will circle back around to him because he's narcissistic. He is a poster child of narcissism. He's a poster child for a lot of things, probably a heart attack. But as narcissists go, it's all about me. And if it's not about me, then you're wrong because it's all about me. And, I'm never wrong. Again, this also goes, into that cult mentality, where his supporters are fanning those flames for him. It's being a president and being a narcissist. That's a nightmare for any country. That's how dictators are born.
Well, I think what Joseph's question is more about, though, is he was unusual in the fact that after he was elected, he immediately went on quote unquote, victory celebration rallies and things and carried that on. I mean, from the start, and that is highly unusual behavior.
And it is until you take into account again that narcissistic tendency.
Well, I mean, who we're talking about, but I mean, this is just not what typical presidents do.
Bush didn't do that.
Have.
Bush didn't do that. Clinton didn't do that.
Nobody has.
Reagan was a TV personality. He didn't do that. He was an actor.
Who?
Ronald Reagan, the actor.
Yeah, he wasn't TV. He was
not TV acting.
Okay,
but you know what I mean.
I got you.
But he was an actor, and he didn't go around patting himself on the back, and he was used to being, loved by crowds and things like that.
Well, Trump just did this to feed his supply, and that's all this has ever been about, is getting adulation at any cost. And that is why he's fighting so hard to hold on to a job he didn't want in the first place, isn't doing now, and could care less about. He just wants the attention.
Attention, power, and money.
And
not necessarily in that combination.
And there's one thing, people do hold rallies when they're in office, when they're trying to run for re-election. That is to be expected and normal, and that's campaigning. And some could argue that he was campaigning for a second term the moment that he got elected the first time, because he had already filed to run again.
Yeah.
But this is not even that. This was totally bizarre. And talking about all these great Americans that were going to be with him, and they were going on. He just had to continue the rallies, and that's all he cared about. Shameless self-promotion. And I think for once in his life, this man is suffering a consequence. It's not
Yeah,
It's
somebody told him no, and he doesn't like it, and he's
no,
not getting away with it.
I mean, it's not a legal consequence, but I think the most painful part of this for him at all is the loss of his Twitter account. Is just he's losing
Oh.
his shit.
It's not just his Twitter account.
Well, I mean, he's banned from pretty much every platform.
Oh, no,
now.
no.
But losing his Twitter, he was so desperate that he started he started tweeting from his official POTUS account. He started trying to get the password to Melania's account, and I don't know if this was true or not because I can't confirm, but this is what I have read and heard, that he was trying to get her password to use her Twitter account because he was so desperate that he, had to be able to tweet, and was told that the password was Baron's middle name and birth date, which he has no clue what that even is. He doesn't care about his kids.
Yeah.
Has anybody tried that to see if it works?
Tried what?
You know what?
Baron's middle name and birthday.
That would be
No, but
interesting.
this is what. Yeah, but that is what I have seen and heard, is that he was that desperate, and so incensed at not being able to tweet, and they kept closing down other accounts. And they do have, a policy where if they catch you after you've been, banned, trying to create an alternate account, they will ban that one as well.
Yep. So POTUS account got banned. His department, the gentleman who is his digital director head or whatever, Trump convinced him to let him use it, to let Trump use his account. That got banned.
State Department, one of the State Departments from some other country or other, he basically used to say such and such so-and-so is fake news. That got blamed.
Yep.
Yeah, even his fundraising account. I mean, he was so desperate to be able to tweet.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Everybody, congratulations. We now have more followers on Twitter than the freaking president. Yeah! Yes.
His Shopify account got shut down.
Yeah.
Yep. And so all his product sales, that's all cut off. And I really hope they impeach the guy. I hope they do it fast, because not only will that make it so that he can't run again, but it'll get rid of his $200,000 a year retirement package. It'll get rid of his permanent Secret Service protection detail. I mean, he literally said on TV that when he hung out with bikers, he never felt safer, and that the bikers loved him. So he doesn't need the Secret Service.
Okay, so
my point was just that this to him is just like a horrible, horrible consequence, and it's probably the only time he's ever suffered any consequences for anything in his life.
yeah. Now, here's the thing. We know full well this man needs to be out of power. He needs to be out of office. It's not enough for what's remaining of his cabinet, which, by the way, the bunch of you are cowards. You got off the sinking ship. Well done. Bravo. When you had a clear and present moral obligation to the rest of the country. I'm an Italian. I have a finger for you. We should not settle for a 25th Amendment removal from office, because it's not a removal. It's a suspension.
Yeah.
We need his ass to be tried and convicted and impeached and removed from power and office, so that the Department of Justice can swoop in and arrest his ass for sedition, inciting a riot, and conspiracy, voter fraud, conspiracy to commit voter fraud. Are you kidding me? They got Al Capone on IRS fraud. You gonna tell me that the IRS can't come to our aid again? I'm sorry. That's bullshit.
I'm willing to bet.
Yeah. Sorry.
I would actually be willing to put down some money. Some of the politicians who would have to vote to put Trump down, as the phrase, to turn a phrase.
I'd be more than happy to put him down.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
That Trump has dirt on them. Enough, besides the stuff that we, the people, see. But I mean, the kind of dirt that would take a Trump supporter and go, oh, yeah, we're not going to vote for that person ever again.
Yeah.
And they're afraid of, they've supported him for so long, they drank the Kool-Aid and everything else, and while their eyes may be open now, it's too little too late in some respects. I mean, they can still do the right thing, they can still do a bunch of other things that, are the right courses of action as far as, like, human decency is concerned and respect for our society as a whole. But ultimately, they have done harm. They've supported a person who literally instigated this the attack on the Capitol building, and they're trying to dodge the repercussions, like you were saying. But if they try to dodge too much, it's going to create more waves and more problems, reinforce issues in other areas that are going to open up more cans of worms like what we saw. I don't think this is going to be the only time that we see the Capitol building stormed.
No.
I think it might happen to another legal building, but this is going to happen again, and I suspect we're going to see it, if not on the day of Biden's swearing in, sometime pretty close to it.
Yeah, they've already gone after the various state capitals, so, why the hell
and
not?
they're coordinating more attacks on the various state capitals as we speak. I mean, this is part of the plans. What my question is, on Monday, there are several people in the House and Senate that are introducing articles of impeachment Monday.
Yeah, why the hell they're waiting that long, I don't even get, but I'm sorry.
And they've even here's my problem. Okay, they are going to introduce these Monday. However, Mitch McConnell right now is still the Senate Majority Leader, and he has come out and said that they will not be doing any congressional business at all until January 19th. Come hell or high water, he's not going to even open this up for a vote. And so what my question is, yes?
I have a question. Go ahead and do yours first, because I think mine's going to be eminently funnier.
My question is with McConnell still, being the Senate Majority Leader and holding us by the balls, so to speak, can they not do an end run around him via something under the Patriot Act? Wait, that not
what?
We have the Patriot Act for a reason. Could they not use that to round up McConnell and Hawley and Cruz and all these people who are blocking this shit and just detain them? Is that not a possibility? I think they ought to be looking at that.
I have to admit ignorance in this one because I don't know what all is in the Patriot Act, so I do not know.
If they think that anyone is up to anything nefarious, they under the Patriot Act they can hold people indefinitely without counsel as part of that. They have prosecuted people under the Patriot Act for doing things like, I don't know, accidentally pointing a laser pointer in at an airplane or something that was totally unintentional and not meant to be harm. This could be considered terroristic acts or whatever you want to call them. But
I don't think there's very much debate on that.
I mean, there's no debate, but I'm thinking, is that not an avenue that they could use to go ahead and get all of these people who are refusing to even hold a hearing.
Because that would be seen as aiding and abetting someone who has been impeached under the article for sedition. And
So
if that was the case,
that would
holy
get people out of
shit.
power.
Wow.
I know that there's already been some, I don't know what you would call it. I would have to go back and find the documents. But there are people in the House right now that are Democrats that are calling for expulsion.
Yeah, and rightly so.
And rightly so, of the 136 people that were, trying to, overturn the...
who were supporting a seditious act.
Right. There's already calls to, to expel them. Now, Manchin...
I think there's for a measure of that.
But I mean, this is an emergency, and I'm just thinking, as an emergency stopgap,
there has to be a way around McConnell.
Yeah.
Well,
and this is an emergency.
Yeah. Here's the question that I had: if truly they put an impeachment out and put out an emergency vote, a simple up or down, and it passes, and it then goes to the Senate, and it's sat on, what is to stop them from the next day? Has it been taken up? No. Okay, let's do another up-down vote for the identical charges. What is to stop them from each day laying another impeachment vote?
Well, there's not. But the thing about it is, once you file, articles of impeachment, once the House, I mean, I'm pretty sure that it would pass the House.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
But
are you sure about that? Because looking at the House of Delegates, our U.S. House of Representatives, sorry, there was 138 Republicans who voted in favor of throwing out the Pennsylvania votes. I've got a list of them.
And I know that. And like I said, there right now is also a motion to have them expelled.
Yep.
Okay.
And there are a couple of them, literally three, sorry. There are several from my state of New York. And that pisses me off.
But if those are introduced and they are passed, the Senate is required to respond to that within 24 hours, and Mitch McConnell is simply giving notice that he's not going to respond to them. Period.
So if he has a written obligation to do, and he refuses, to me there are only two choices. Either force him to, meaning the sergeant at arms effectively abducts, what's the legal word I'm looking for, arrests his ass and brings him in to do his job, or he should be summarily fired for dereliction of his job.
Right.
There are two choices. If he is legally obligated, because that's what the job entails. Forgive me, I know, 2 F-bombs in one night. Fuck him.
Yeah, but right now, there's really nothing that can be done at this point.
Well, because it's 1:30 in the morning on the East Coast. Nobody's awake. What are you, stupid?
Well,
oh, wait,
these will be introduced Monday, and he has already said that the Senate is not conducting any business until 1:19. He's come point blank. And so it's like they can be offered, but he's not going to respond, and they can't force him to respond.
Then impeach his ass each day. Let his name go down as the person who is responsible for the head of the Republican Party being impeached, 10 times?
Yeah, I mean,
because he wouldn't do his job.
There will be consequences once this inauguration has happened, but there's a long time between now and January 20th.
Exactly.
Which is the problem. And another thing that I thought was kind of concerning too is that there were talks, about invoking the 25th Amendment and all of that, but Nancy Pelosi, called and wanted to talk with Pence and like, we need to talk ASAP,
Yep.
and
I heard about
kept
this.
her on hold for 25 minutes. And then it's like, he's too chicken shit to even come to the phone and talk to her. So he's just as complicit too.
They've
And now
abdicated.
he's saying, well, we have to reserve it in case of emergency, in case things get worse. And it's like, how much worse do you need them to be, dude?
Shall we
They
get
were-
Samuel L. Jackson to explain to you just how much of a shit show this is right now?
And how close your ass came to being killed the other day?
Executed. Let's call it what it is.
Executed, because it's like this went all the way. I mean, this was so serious that this would literally have taken out the whole succession all the way up to what's his name? I just went blank. Pompeo. That's how big this was. This is what was planned. This is serious.
Yeah, it is.
They were going to literally execute Pelosi and Schumer and Pence and half the legislature. They were, yes.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing that kills me about this. Please forgive me for using the expression. These morons who had all this information, including information on the security tunnels, where they were, how to get to them, like I said earlier, the driving locations that could have been blocked off in case of, who had apparently tacit permission from the forces that were supposed to be guarding the establishment.
Yeah.
These wonderful morons were walking around, without masks on, never mind the pandemic, but just to save your own ass so you couldn't be identified. And some of them, at least one of them, was walking around with their business badge on a lanyard on their neck that was identified, which then people were able to go, Techity. Company XYZ, this person, here is their ID, here is the picture of them in the Capitol building. What are you going to do about it? Oh, yeah, they're gone. Which, by the way, fucking FBI, really? You guys can't figure out who these people are and you're asking the public to help identify them? Why not just do it the right way and go over to 4chan and ask them to do it, because goddamn they're good at doing it. When there's a bag of puppies that have been thrown away into a river, and they're able to track down the motherfuckers who did it, and you guys can't find these people who are putting out stuff on their own Instagrams and Twitter accounts and live streaming and stuff, and you're asking us to help you? What
Really?
the hell?
Exactly.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have no particular love for 4chan, but when 4chan says, no, you don't fuck with puppies, they go after and they find. Mm-hmm. There is one story, really quickly, where somebody in Eastern Europe, I forget where the hell it was, they took pictures of themselves with a sack full of, I think it was kittens that they tried to just throw away and drown and whatnot. They tracked this person down halfway around the world because they matched up the pictures of the person with pictures from the inside of their house in order to figure out who the hell it was, and they found them.
To be fair, though, I mean, a lot of the people in the NSA and all these other places have been, summarily dismissed or replaced with loyalists. Maybe they don't want to find these people.
That's
a possibility.
This is Project Snow White all over again.
I hate to sound
Damn.
like a conspiracy theorist nutter, but that is where we are.
We've talked about this one before, really quickly. Operation Snow White. It was the Church of Scientology in the 70s. They had their membership infiltrate various different levels of government, including the federal government, in many areas. They had upwards of 200 people. I forget exactly how many it was. I'll find the article eventually. But just
We don't know how high up this goes. We'll find out.
we can only assume at this point. We can only assume that it goes to the head of everything.
About the Pentagon.
Yeah,
I mean, we know.
yeah. There was effectively a Saturday night massacre
I think
with the DoD, as it was.
yeah. Which is probably why they refused to respond to any assistance at all. And of course, Trump wasn't going to ask for any assistance. And it took Pence trying to intervene, and then people on the House floor begging for help as they were sheltering in place. That was deliberate.
Yep.
That was not incompetence. This was deliberate. Make no mistake.
Yep. Forgive me. I'm making sure that I've got notes for myself to drop into the show notes eventually, because
So this is some really whacked out, scary shit.
yeah,
And I will tell you just from personal experience that when this was going on Wednesday, I was working, but I was also listening, to, I'm not going to plug the person because, but, live stream just because something to listen to while I'm working. And, and he was carrying live coverage of, the rally and all this other stuff. And then when all of this started and I saw, I mean, I immediately had to send a message to my boss. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm horrified. I'm clocking out now. And I'm sorry. Gotta go. Bye. Because I knew that I was done the rest of the day. No point in even trying to work. And I was just horrified.
no, I don't blame you.
And it was kind of creepy because we were talking about this, last week and after the show, and it's like, am I really seeing here what I think that I'm seeing? And yeah, that's exactly what I was seeing, and I couldn't believe it. Well, I could, but I was just horrified that this is actually, going down in real time, and I'm watching it and going, oh my God. And so, preemptively, I have put in for vacation time on January 20th, just in case things get really, really bad, which I know that Biden and Harris are going to be okay. They're, going to be sworn in at an, undisclosed location and under heavy security. But just in case things go sideways, I, planned on taking vacation day just so I could not have to try to work. Because mentally, not happening.
Yeah. On a sideways piece about this, by the way, I have heard that there are certain retired military who have been contacted by their ex-COs to go to Washington as unarmed assistance to the peace to help with the police forces.
If you don't mind my asking, where'd you hear this?
I'll go as far as to say classified for right now.
Okay. This is not public knowledge at this time.
There are some who are still retired who have watched what has happened and have said, this is wrong. We should not have weapons. And in DC, you're not allowed to have a weapon from outside, and getting a weapon permit while you're inside is nigh impossible. But as ex-military, we have the training to help in an unarmed capacity. And it is still our sworn duty to help if we can. I highly applaud these people who have still believed in their oath to protect and defend, especially knowing full well that they are willing to go and do the job in a dangerous environment, unarmed. And when I say unarmed, I don't mean, they don't have a gun. I'm not saying they don't have a taser. I'm saying unarmed, as in they don't have so much as a stick to their name.
I mean, against your average Joe homebody, whatever, your average person who doesn't have any kind of training, doesn't have a background, any kind of military action, they just don't have that kind of training. They're just a regular person who, goes about their day, who has decided to show up at the Capitol and try to breach the steps. Against a military person who doesn't have any weapons on them, it doesn't matter that they don't have any weapons. They are the weapon. Now, when you add in the QAnon people and such that have shown up with guns and I think used to call them zip sticks, but baton, collapsible batons, things like that.
ASP.
And they know how to use them.
Yep.
Having them there unarmed, it only does so much.
Yep.
If they're lucky, they can grab the leg of a chair and use that.
Yeah. And
I was just going to say one last piece on this. Because DC doesn't have, a National Guard unit, because they're not a state or anything like that, I think that these events make a very strong case on why Washington, D.C. needs, to be given statehood.
And the other reason why DC hasn't? No, hold on. For those that don't really understand it, and I don't have as much info on this as I should, but DC basically was supposed to have been effectively neutral ground for all the states.
Yeah.
Hence the reason why it is itself not a state, and has not been to date. However, the fact that it is neutral ground means that they are at the whim of whatever the hell is going on with Congress.
Yeah.
So, if they become a state, they have far and away more self-governance. And, geez, wasn't that the whole reason why we started the damn place in the first place?
Yeah.
And then, then why shouldn't we let Puerto Rico become its own state? Yeah, that's a good question. Why not?
Yeah, they need to be admitted statehood as well.
I mean, where else have we got? Guam? Is Guam?
I mean, they're not a state. I mean, we do have territories, and they are allowed, some rights, but they don't have their own representation as far as like senators and things like that. And I think that this is deliberate. I think the GOP, the last thing that they want is for DC to become a state, because then they would get 2 state senators and the GOP would never be in power again.
Oh.
Well, that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah, that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah. Yeah, and the easiest way to see that is to look at the congressional districts and how they're gerrymandered like crazy.
Mm-hmm. But that is one of the priorities that this incoming Congress has, or at least the Democrats do, is to get DC statehood. That is on their agenda.
Yeah. Joseph.
Yeah, well, the Republicans have gotten themselves into, they've latched onto the believer demographic because, it's a united, manipulable social bloc that's predictable. It's kind of, they've taken the easy road, but at the same time, well, they find that that road's a dead end because that demographic is actually shrinking.
Mhm.
Because even though the nut jobs and the conspiracy theorists and the QAnon and all that, they make a lot of noise, but they sure as hell don't make the majority. As we've seen in this Trump election and the last election, I mean, I heard someone say that if the Republicans are talented at anything, it's about voter suppression
Yep.
and like manipulation. And in spite of everything they've done, like shutting down the postal service, to try to impede mail-in voting, in spite of all their manipulations, they still couldn't win.
Yep. There's one
But
last.
They're stuck in that demographic now because I mean, there's no way out.
No, and they're basically dinosaurs. They're old and they're going to end up dying off. And the problem is, it's just not happening quickly enough. And I don't say that because I'm wishing ill on people. It's a statistical fact. They will be dead inside of 20 years. The vast majority of these folks. It's biology, and it couldn't come sooner. And I'm not saying that because I want them out of office that way. I'm saying that those people who are entrenched like this, who have some level of civil authority, even if it's just, we acknowledge you because you're an old guy and you've been talking to, they need to just go away. Their ideals need to just go the hell away. Joseph, I want to get you for this because I don't know if you had seen it, but what Seeker had said over on the chat.
Mm-hmm.
To end on a good note, how about Representative Andy Kim, Democrat, New Jersey, the only politician that, and I'm adding over here, helped to clean up the debris and personal belongings strewn across the floor of the Capitol Rotunda after being overrun. The only one of them that actually got in there with all of the staff to try to help clean up the mess.
You mean with the cleaning crew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only one of
that's
them.
admirable.
That's a leader who leads by example.
No, that's a leader. That's a leader. That's just somebody who knows what needs to be done. And if the basic goal was just getting the validation back on track, yeah, well, you want it. If you want it done, yeah, well, you're gonna pitch in to get the mess cleaned up so you can get the vote back on the way. I don't know. I don't think he had any notion of leadership when he was doing that.
No, and
that's the beauty of leadership.
The best ones don't.
Yeah, the best. When I worked retail, because I've worked retail, I've worked food service, I've worked a lot of different kinds of jobs in career fields and everything. And you look at my if somebody were to look at my resume, it'd be like, oh my gosh, you're a jack of all trades. Well, yeah. Consistently, regardless of what career field I was in, the best leaders that I worked under, the best managers, supervisors, you name it, whatever their titles were, the best ones did not think that they were the best. They did the needful. They trained the people to replace them so that they could move up and do what they do. And they shared knowledge. They didn't covet it. They didn't hoard it. They shared it because they knew that the more people had the working knowledge, the better overall for the company, for the people, for the morale, for everybody.
It might not even go that far because I mean, really, anybody I consider as a leader is somebody who knows how to get shit done better than I do, and that's it.
Sometimes, but
and sometimes that leader, it's not always somebody older. It's like there's some people even my coworkers, which are almost half my age. I mean, they know how to get shit done in certain fields much better than I do, and I can only kowtow to their knowledge.
And sometimes they're women, sometimes they're men, sometimes they're trans.
Yeah,
You know,
It's an amazing thing
But
that, you know, it doesn't know a boundary. That leadership doesn't limit themselves to only one gender or one age group or one generation.
no, it comes down to both motivation and ability.
And it's amazing how many people we see that have motivation and have ability that could get the job done if they were just allowed to do their job.
Yeah, they're downtrodden by people who are more prone to posturing and taking everybody down so they can get ahead. Shit like that.
yeah. And for you to go ahead and say, you know, these people who are half my age, do you have any idea how old you make me feel? Don't use that expression. God.
You've only got
Hey,
what?
people half my age can drink, and I'm younger than you, Shu.
And wait a second, sir.
Not by much.
You've only got 2 years on me or something.
We're not going to discuss this now.
Yeah, I just celebrated my 50th. So
See, the problem is, I've said on this show a couple of times how old I actually am. The problem with that is,
Yeah, you're 39.
that's the problem. I can't use that joke now because everybody knows otherwise. Thank you.
well, you can.
Really? I always thought you were 39.
Yeah, so did I.
Delusions of grandeur.
Well, delusions anyway.
39.
You
That's my
know-
favorite Japanese joke.
Did- what?
399 very much.
Wait, I missed that. What was it?
3939 very much. Because in Japanese, 3 is san,
Uh-huh.
and 9 is ku.
Taku?
No, san.
Sa-
San
Saku.
very much. Okay,
Gotcha.
Yeah. Japanese dad joke.
That was a good one.
Pun.
I liked it.
Japanese
Okay.
pun. Yay.
I like dad jokes. I think they're hilarious.
I learned how to count in Japanese poorly because I learned ichi ni san. I can't.
Ichini san shiro.
Wait. I learned ichi ni san shi. You should not use she when you're counting. For those of you that don't know why, it's because it's basically the homophone of the word for death. So it's the equivalent of don't walk under a ladder. Don't face north when you go to sleep.
And don't have a floor 13 in your hotel.
Yeah.
I can still do my numbers in Russian. And it's a few basic sentences, and that's about it. And what's funny is, because of my food service experience, I know more words in Spanish than I do in Russian. But in Spanish, it's all about food. So at least if I go to a country where they speak Spanish, I won't go hungry, but I'll never find the freaking bathroom. Where in Russia, I'll be able to find the bathroom, but I will die of starvation.
You know, it's all about priorities, man.
Yep.
I need to
Yep.
find the Spanish section in Russia and the Russian section in the Spanish areas.
You know, I was
I
gonna
can
make
merge the two.
I was going to make a joke that, you know, if you ended up, back in 1965 in Cuba, you might not have had a problem.
Jeez. Yeah, wow. Damn.
I'm sorry.
Well, and if you ever go to Mexico, you could have some issues if you can't find your way to the bathroom. Just saying.
There's a tree somewhere. I'm a guy. I'm lucky like that.
Yeah, to a
Well,
certain degree.
I'm just talking about if you drink the water or some of the food, you might have some issues.
Yeah.
Well, if you were there then and all you can think about is food. Yeah, well, it would be the Bay of Pigs.
I don't know. If somebody put a glass of water from Mexico, from a tap faucet from Mexico, in front of me, and then there was another glass of water that came from a faucet in Detroit, Michigan, I'd probably drink the water from Mexico.
Oh, you could drink the water from Flint.
You could. The question is how many times?
The Postmodern Polymath Podcast.
Yes.
Woo-hoo!
How you doing, man? You showed up at a perfect time because we're almost done. So, good timing. To that end, I don't know that I've got any real last item that I want to drop for everybody. Which, I mean, the only thing that I want to make sure that everybody remembers is that, you know, I'll wait. Is there anything that anybody wants to, you know, get off their chest, get back onto the floor before I go ahead and close this up?
Yeah, I want to get something off my chest.
Yeah, but I mean, without lipo.
This is all about that birthday age thing. That bastard. Rat bastard! No, okay, anyway.
Retroactive bastard. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yeah, something quick.
something quick. I'm reminded of a quote by Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. When he talked about when he would watch the news on television and see scary things, and his mother would tell him, look for the helpers. I say to everybody now, look for the helpers. They are there, and they're quiet. They're not getting a lot of press, but some of them are. But more importantly, the things that they're doing now will make the news later, because it's going to have that kind of effect. So watch who is currently speaking out, what they're saying about others, and compare it to what they've said and done in the past. And then look for the helpers and watch what they do, and then compare the two. And you'll get an idea of where we really should be going in this country. And the people as a species, as a whole. Okay? Look for the helpers.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah. Anybody else?
This is not really getting anything off my chest, per se, and I'm not trying to give a deliberate plug to anyone or anything like that. But, I have to give props where props are due, and after listening to several interviews recently of from Steve Schmidt, I'm not sure if you know who that is or not. He is one of the co-founders of the Lincoln Project,
Okay.
and I'm sure that you know who the Lincoln Project is.
Yeah.
Their intent now at this point is, I mean, people were afraid that the Lincoln Project was going to end up, you know, torpedoing the Democratic Party next time when they ran and all this other stuff. His whole goal now is to defeat Trumpism, and you know, has stated that this is going to take decades and decades to defeat. And so their long-term goals now are to continue their work and what they're doing to, you know, try to, you know, bring back some civility, but go after people who are still, you know, Trumpists, even though Trump may no longer still be around. And I think that that's I think that that's a good thing to do. People like Michael
What would you
Steele.
call a Trumpist?
Huh?
What would you call a Trumpist?
People who still have this mindset that Trump is not the disease. He's a symptom of the disease, of everything that is wrong in this society, but the white supremacy ideal and the trying to install a theocracy and take away the democratic process from the people, those kinds of things. he's trying, he and his group are still trying to work against those ends to, to tamp that down. And they are actively going after people like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and the people who enabled, and they will continue to do so. And they are going to try to make, whatever time that Trump has left on this earth a living hell.
I think it's basically, it all comes down to one trait of human character, which I've called survive by imitation, but it's also the follower mindset. And you'll find that it's the same across, any totalitarian-esque political situation, whether it be communism, religion, even followers of certain pop groups. They just like unquestionably believe and follow everything that their idol says. And I really think it's that the mindset, because there comes a certain time in our life where we stop following by example and we start following by reason. I mean, in a better world, maybe we are capable of that, but humans haven't been prone to make that transition, to take the responsibility of making decisions for themselves.
Yeah, I think his whole thing is that he cannot stomach what the GOP has become, and is trying to destroy its current form in any way that he can now.
Yeah, because like I said before, this is what I meant earlier by the Republican being stuck. If you've got a group of humans who will, they're looking for leadership, and they'll believe everything you say. I mean, that's a tantalizing, how can I say? Not bait, but I mean, it's like...
it's a comfort.
It's like low-hanging fruit. I mean, if you want to be in a leadership position and you've got this demographic of people looking for a leader who are willing to believe anything, people who don't want to decide things for themselves, they want somebody else to do it for them, and they're looking for leadership. I mean, it's so easy to take advantage of that. And I mean, all through human history, well, since the age of agriculture anyways, it's been just a repeating cycle of a few key humans just abusing this very basic human trait. I mean, the forms it takes is different. It could be religion, communism, whatever, but it's basically a few key leaders, or one key leader ruling over the many, and it's this basic human trait that enables them. But very few people are talking about this these days. It's very strange.
Yeah.
But I was watching, or I was listening to the Hang Up, Matt Gillahunty and his co-host, who's a very knowledgeable lawyer. Like even he was flummoxed about, like, why are Trump followers the way they are. I just can't figure it out, he said.
Yeah, I hear you.
Cult.
Yeah, we've got to wrap. So let me drop this.
I can beatbox.
No,
just kidding.
let me do this really quickly. Item 1 was mentioned. Secret said about getting Andrew on with us. We've had him before. I was in contact with having him on. I'm going to see about getting that for this upcoming week.
Is that the same person I was talking about just now? Or Andrew Torres?
Andrew Torres.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, because it's funny, at the closing of this show, somebody wrote in. They said, I prefer Andrew, but only second to Andrew. because there's two out there. They're both lawyers, anyways. Anyway.
No worries. I also want to see about getting a very specific teacher in. Probably not for this week. Probably for the following. I'm not going to say anything much more about that right now, because I have to formally get in touch with them and say, hey, we'd love to be able to have you talk without disrupting your job, because I want to make sure that I everything's on the up and up for him, because I don't want to screw it up. The last item that I've got for you guys, for all of you. Normally, I would talk about the topic. I'm just going to reiterate what I've said already. In this time of incredible telecommunications, it can be really hard in the middle of all this stuff to be isolated. We are. Physically, we can't get together. We cannot be social creatures like we've been for eons. Right now, we need to stay separate. But that doesn't mean that you're alone. If you are in need of having someone to talk to interact with, just to have a calming voice, the link for our Discord channel is in the show notes always. If you need, join in there. In the general chat, just put in @everyone and just say, I need somebody. I need to talk. Somebody will answer. With all that's gone on, you are not alone. We will not allow that to be. Please be safe. Please stay healthy. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and most of you are, stay warm. As always, thank you for being with us. I hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and got something to think about for yourself now. Just thank you. Joseph, thank you very much. Glad you're able to make it. You have yourself a good news cycle, I hope, for this week, huh?
Yeah, I'll try to pay a little more attention.
Well, you got enough stuff going on in your neck on both sides of the channel, I think.
Yeah, I still don't know what's going on with the Brexit. I'm going to look that up after the show.
Yeah.
But on this end, yeah, the COVID's going back up. And, well, I'm back to work on Monday.
Hey, look at it this way. Everything that's going through the Curie section is probably irradiated so much it's probably clean at that point. the air. I'm sorry. It's best I got.
I'm wondering where that comment came from. Curie.
The
Madame Curie.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
did you know about that?
You've told us about it.
Okay. About our lab being like in the middle of our campus.
I remember
Right.
some things about you once in a while. I'm
my
not
God,
complete. Yeah, I may be a little more than 39 years old, but I still have some faculty still left in my brain.
We actually went through there with a Geiger counter. But anyways, that's a story for another day.
You take care of yourself, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, man.
Tech, you take care of yourself too, man, and best of luck to you and yours.
You guys have a good one too.
Bridget, wow, just yeah, wow, right? You take care of yourself. Stay warm.
I will try to. I mean, so far, as far as 2020 was the longest 10 years of my life ever. And as far as 2021, I feel like we're living under a Chinese curse.
Yeah.
May we live in interesting times.
True that, eh?
Yeah.
No thanks. I'll take boring.
Yeah,
Boring.
I'd rather have boring. Trust me.
Join the club.
I give 2021 so far a 0.5 star out of 5 and do not recommend.
Yeah, Yelp is brutal listening. So
Yeah, 0 out of 10. Do not recommend 2020.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still
For all
early
time
yet.
travelers. Yeah.
So who would you like to mention? What would you like to plug?
don't really feel like plugging anything. I really don't even know what to say at this
Oh yeah,
point.
you do. Oh yeah, you do.
I Well, okay, I'm gonna double down and say, Mike Pence, really? What the fuck, dude? You're not wanting to do the 25th Amendment until you want to reserve it in case things get crazier? Really?
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah, I'm with you on that one.
and just all of you people who are enabling this stuff, just get the fuck out of here with that.
Who is it up in the northeast who said, "Well, I'm not going to vote for impeachment because he'll learn his lesson."
Oh, and
Yeah,
I'm sure she's just so concerned.
but anyway,
Yeah, fuck her too. I mean, and I'm gonna issue an additional fuck you, and this is probably gonna lose us some fans and maybe some friends. I don't
I
know.
don't care.
I don't care. But all of you people who are like, I don't like Hillary. We need to teach the Democrats a lesson, so I'm going to vote for Trump because fuck your feelings. Fuck you too. You enabled this. You people who chose to try to do this to teach the Democrats a lesson because they didn't earn your vote. Fuck you.
Ooh, that one had some bite to it.
Yeah,
Did. And it's like
He's getting feisty.
we've been trying to tell you people SCOTUS picks are on the line. Please do not do this. They were like, well, fuck you. We're going to vote for Trump or we're just not going to vote. Or we're going to vote with third party. Fuck you. Okay, I'm done.
no worries. It's just a lot. There's just a lot going through my head right now, and I don't think it's a really good idea for me to go traveling down through a lot of all that. So,
I probably
also,
shouldn't have. I'm sorry. Well, sorry, not sorry. I
It-
said it. It's out there and it can be edited and post later if you feel like it.
yeah, it's not going to have happened. By the way, over in the live chat, everybody, thank you very much for being able to be here with us. Stephanie, Felis, Postmodern Polymaths, good to see you, man. It's been a long time. I hope you're doing all right, man. Seriously, I really hope that you're doing all right. And Seeker, good to see you over there. Oh, and I almost missed somebody. There was one other. Where did that name go? There you are, Alan, who had showed up earlier tonight. Thank you for being with us. Please, all of you, be safe. More than anything else, just be safe and know that we're here for you. If you would like to be in touch with us, of course, you can get the podcast version of the show over at the website at holycrapthevlogcast.com. For those of you who have a Plex server, of which I have, I'll tell you about my nightmares with all that. We're trying to figure out how we can set it up so that Plex will actually populate it, because there is a podcast system in there that doesn't like the formatting that we're using for our feed. Don't know why. Screws, whatever. But holycrapthevlogcast.com. It's got all of our contact information over there also. If you'd like to leave a voicemail message, phone number for that is 859-HCTV-554, 859-428-8554. Please just remember that we're here for you. We don't do this show because there's money involved. There is no money involved coming into us. We do this because we feel it's worthwhile to help everyone else. Even just our little bit. So for helping you, good. If there's someone else you think that we can help, please let them know. And I'm not saying that because I'm saying, subscribe, share. No. If there's someone that we can help, send them our way. Because ultimately that's the most important part. So next week will be the 17th. It's going to be right before Inauguration Day. I'm going to see about getting Andrew Torres on to talk with us a little bit more about not necessarily directly the law, but I've got an idea as to the topic I want to cover with him. But in the meantime, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. Peace and long life. Live long and prosper. My lady, it is going to be 16 years, but I am still in love. Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night.